Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our podcast on the topic of augmented reality. We'll talk about our report that we just finished and our research, on the topic of augmented reality. Okay, so Melle, how did we get started?
Well, the initiator of the project was the commissioner was Matteo and from Steps Travel, the travel agency in the Lake Toba region in Indonesia, and they were interested in which role augmented reality could play in the safeguarding of intangible culture. So what they faced were people being less connected to their culture in the area, and mainly the younger generations, so that the disappearance of certain traditions or dances or whatever in villages around that area, and they wanted to look into the potential of augmented reality solving that problem.
Yeah, but also for tourism, right? Like they also experienced like a lack of tourist visitors coming to the area, and they wanted to, see how augmented reality could help boost also the visitor numbers, right?
Yeah, just as I said, they are a travel agency, and they also told that the Indonesian government was like they selected some destinations all around the country that could be the new Bali or something the project was called, and yeah, they just wanted to spread the tourism more around the country, and Lake Toba was one of those destinations, and therefore they were also interested in the role tourism could play in that. So
so we came into contact with them, and they basically wanted to do wanted us to do research for them on this topic, and that's basically how this research was started, like the foundation.
Yeah,
yes.
Actually, we couldn't go there, but it was still interesting to research that indeed.
Yeah, we couldn't physically go there, which was a shame, but
We did try to get some image of how the area looked and based our research a bit on that, and also interviewed some people who had connections, at least to people. We did also try to find people from the Lake Toba area itself, but
that was quite hard.
Proved too difficult to really get good info from on site there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, then we would have physically went there in order to get that.
The different time zones was a real problem, and like the late response on email, that was
yeah.
Some people don't know how to respond to emails, obviously.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think we get a lot of knowledge and useful information during the research. Yeah,
because we had an interview with a lady on who researched the diaspora of of the Lake Toba region, so people living in the Netherlands, but they originate from that region, and in that way we kind of got a nice image of what is like there and what we should focus on, and
how the people are also like. And I mean, we basically got to know from it that the people are still, like diaspora, are still very connected to the culture.
Yeah.
So that's also an interesting aspect of our research, and it plays a big role.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And also like the culture, which they were really still very strongly connected to, did also show that there really is potential in using AR to further safeguard the culture, because not only the people there are still very much connected to the culture, but also in the Netherlands you saw that. And when we looked at all the case studies of augmented reality, it is not only the case that you can use them on the site itself, but many of the cases could also actually be used at home, which is a very nice addition if you're also for the diaspora people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also did our own case study, and it was lovely. Like for me, traveling like 3 hours by train to Amsterdam to go to the Schipwa Museum and go another 3 hours back. But it was
can
good.
imagine that.
It's quite interesting to see it like in practice.
I think
exactly.
it was good, and also because well, I mean, we all had online meetings for months, and it was good to get together finally and experience something.
Experience the outside world.
Yeah.
I think it also helps for your findings in the research.
Yeah.
That you can
At
discuss
least
it
try
with
to
each other in real life. That's I think that contributes to the results.
Yeah.
Basically, mainly try to experience the AR after they got it out of the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some technical difficulties, but finally we got to experience the data experience.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it was like the AR app itself was quite well done, like the technology behind it, and like it really enhanced the experience. But I mean, it's just one thing that you don't need to put them in the scorching hot sun all day, because then the tablets won't work. But that's just one
It will
thing.
be quite hard in Indonesia, but
Yeah. Okay, but well, I mean, about our research, we talked a bit about the cases and like that we went to the Scheepvaartmuseum ourselves. But well, I mean, of course, we did a bunch more on the research. So yeah, like basically the main research question that we tried to answer was how can augmented reality be applied in rural areas in order to conserve the intangible culture in those areas? And well, we tried to answer that question by doing a bunch of different data gathering. Well, for example, the case studies that we did, but we also had a lot of interviews with experts on different fields of augmented reality or on the field of cultural heritage, and we also did a thematic analysis on reviews of people with AR experiences. So I think those three things gave a nice insight into this potential.
I don't know how you guys think about it, but I think the interviews were like the most useful and interesting sources. For the interviews.
There were some really interesting points. At least I got out of the interviews. I probably assume you guys think the same. But for example, with the cultural heritage interview, the expert on cultural heritage, the thing that really I still remember is like that she mentioned that the culture is more about the really reason behind it than the actual ritual or something. So that culture is really dynamic, and you shouldn't focus on like conserving or safeguarding a certain tradition, but really also look into the meaning behind it, and that's the thing you have to focus on.
I think what she really nicely explained was also the difference between the intangible and the tangible cultural heritage, because most of the current AR applications, they are mostly in the form that you take a tablet or your phone, point it at an old ruin, and you can see a new projection of it. And this in a way conserves the heritage there. But she really nicely explained that it looks really cool, but there is really no added value in there for the safeguarding of intangible heritage. Because if you just show people what was in the past, there is no driver for them to continue doing that. It's just like it's like a piece in a museum then. So to really safeguard it, I think the most important thing we got out of these interviews was make it interactive and make sure that you really engage people with the AR applications.
Yeah, and also with the creation, like one thing she also pointed out is that the main thing to especially create enthusiasm among the younger generations is leave room for them to adapt it or give their own, just make it their own. And that's especially with culture itself, but in some regard also with the augmented reality applications regarding that topic. So
Yeah, and for the younger generation, I think the gamification of the content might be a really good solution, because like we see it all around us, like Pokemon Go and other games. It's already like in our society kind of established and accepted. So, and I mean, like people still play it. So I think the enthusiasm and the engagement can be really easily achieved through that.
Yeah, there was also with like Studio Loud and with the man from Augmented Reality interview, like they're all talking about their own experiences, and I think that's more like out of the real life, and I think that's more useful for this research than just what we did with the thematic analysis or the reviews and the cases. That was just only literature.
Yeah, but I mean, those two things did have some added value, of course.
Yeah, of course.
It was nice to compare some cases and see how like augmented reality is applied in other sectors or other cases, you know. And also the thematic analysis was quite helpful to get to know what people like, what the customers want from an AR experience. Like one thing that really stood out was that they loved that it was a joint experience, that they did it together with family or friends or others. And that's, I think, one major aspect in like the enjoyability of an AR experience. So I think that's also one very important factor to take into account when developing AR, that you know what the people want from it, like what your target group wants.
Yeah, and I also think that's the main downside of the AR experience we have experienced ourselves in the Scheepsvaart Museum. Like you were quite closed off the outside world with your headphones on and just walking around by yourself, scanning those points of information to get another experience, but it wasn't really a joint experience. And that's what we found out is a really important side of augmented reality experiences.
Yeah.
Or at least what people like.
Yeah, but like they didn't design it that way to be like interactive with like the other people, but we still made it interactive, because like sometimes we were like walking around together and we didn't even have the headphones on, and we're just discussing and talking about the AR experience, and it wasn't supposed to be like that. It just came natural. So yeah.
So yeah, with all those 3 different data gathering points in mind, we decided to kind of develop a framework. The framework was aimed towards like people or businesses that are willing to maybe develop such AR experiences in order to safeguard their cultural heritage. So, for example, Wise Steps Travel, like the commissioner of this report. So the framework was really aimed towards that, and in the framework we really combined like the 3 elements of the case study comparisons, the thematic analysis, and the interviews with experts. And with all those 3 things combined, I think we made a nice framework that covers the most important aspects when wanting to develop such AR, right, guys?
Yeah, I think so. And I think like the main thing we really found out, and I don't know if you guys agree on this, but what I think we really found is that don't focus too much on the technology. Well, there are really a lot of cases where you just think for yourself, like, yeah, is there really a need for AR? Couldn't this have been done in a different way?
Yeah, like a physical sign somewhere could be better in some cases than a whole AR experience where you waste tons of money on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this also came forward in the interview, that it's just like sometimes AR is just not the right option. And then it is also important to just acknowledge that and look for a different solution.
Yeah, it feels like that people are getting distracted from the fact that something is new and you haven't really experienced it, or you don't see it anywhere else, so you want to be like the leader of it.
Yeah,
and
they
take the lead.
see a new technology and they want to jump on the trend to become one of the first to do
Exactly.
so. But
Exactly.
in some cases, it's not even the best solution for your specific case.
Yeah, and sometimes, well, like in one of the case studies, it was like they did it in Cuba. They wanted to establish like an augmented reality experience for the historical architecture there. And yeah, while reading the case study, it felt like, yeah, they didn't really like consider like the fundamental questions, like what is the target group, what do I actually want to achieve. They just jumped into the technology part because they thought, okay, maybe our destination is a little bit behind in comparison to others, and then yeah, just do something with AR and thought, yeah, might be successful, but it's really not the case, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
that's also one major factor or important thing that's also in our framework is like, well, the first step is to define your purpose or goal. Like, what do you want to achieve? And then think about, is AR the right solution or the right type of technology to, well, to get to that goal or purpose that you want to achieve? And sometimes you just have to be honest and you think, well, it's not. So you don't have to invest tons of money in AR if it's ultimately not the best solution for you or your business. And that's
yeah, what Studio Loud literally said, like what you said now.
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
another expert on the field of augmented reality said, well, he said that he sees like a lot of companies backfire because of that. Like they spend a lot of money in investing in AR. Like it's not, well, the cheapest solution, and then they don't really make profit off of it because, well, it's not the best solution for their purpose or their goal. And yeah, I think that's also one major factor that is really represented in our framework and our findings of this research.
But then again, I also think that if you do like first find out what the goal is you want to achieve, look at the target group, then see like what content can engage this target group, and then in the end it turns out, well, augmented reality can be a really good solution. There is a lot of potential in AR.
Yeah, there
and
is.
I think, yeah, and we saw that as well in the Scheepvaart Museum. Probably I wouldn't say that this is the perfect example, but it really was an enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
And that also really felt as if it added something to the whole experience. And also in the interview with Studio Louter, she mentioned that customers were very enthusiastic about the AR and felt they really learned something from it. And same in the reviews. So if well executed, there is a lot of potential in AR.
That's also in the thematic analysis on the reviews. We also identified like the theme of an educational or informational value, like of the experience, like that people really like, that they learn a lot with help of the AR experience, and that I think that's also, well, an important thing to take into account.
Yeah, and also then the value for the safeguarding of intangible heritage. I think we have now mentioned it a few times already, but specifically on that case, AR has a lot of potential because it can really engage people. It's not just reading something, what you normally do in a museum, or just looking at something, but AR does have the ability either through the gamification or in other ways to engage people individually, but also together. And like this community engagement can really help safeguarding intangible cultural heritage.
Yeah, and also like engage people who aren't engaged initially, like for example with the VOC data experience. I would assume that there are plenty of people who aren't really interested in like the data they provide in there, like the names of the people and the amount of women among the people on the ships and stuff. But like by creating and visualizing it in some way using augmented reality, I really think you can create enthusiasm among those who initially weren't interested.
Yeah, because I think if you just place a sign there and state like those facts or those names, like some people are very interested in that and they read it. But I mean, I think AR indeed what you said, Melle, is a way to really engage also other people that might not be interested in the subject at first. Like
Yeah.
You're more involved with the content of the.
Yeah, exactly.
because it feels more alive for those people, I think.
Yeah, because when you just read like science or like a small text about the topic, like, yeah, sometimes, well, at least I have the feeling that like when you read, you get tired and you read more passively.
Yeah.
And like the AR really bundles all your attention towards this one thing, and you're really focused and concentrated on it. Yeah, it's really attention intensive, which is really nice.
Well, I think we've covered all the points of attention, right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we explained like the methods that we use. We explained the framework basically. I think it was a really interesting research to do. Of course, the physical limits that it had because of the coronavirus were a bit of a shame. But I mean, we still made the best of it. And I think we created a nice framework that really has a scientific but also practical benefit. Well, I think every topic of our research is covered now in this podcast. So we really all want to thank you for listening, and we hope you're invited to read our report and dive into it more than this podcast of 15 minutes. So thank you for listening.